Greetings and welcome to the latest installment of Academically Speaking, the College Planning 101 web series brought to you by the Brooklyn, Long Island Alumni chapter of Kappa Alpha Psi Fraternity Incorporated. This three-part series will provide insight and strategies on how you can make the transition to college a smooth one and your college experience a successful one. The topics that will be discussed include preparing for the move, academic preparation, and financial aid. Please take some notes and put the strategies to use. Thank you for tuning in, and we wish you all the best in your college journey.
Greetings. My name is Kevin Boston Hill, and I'm a member of the Brooklyn, Long Island Alumni chapter of Kappa Alpha Psi Fraternity Incorporated. Well, it's finally here. You've already moved into college, or you're about to move in, and the starter classes is just around the corner. Well, what is it that you need to know, and how can you get yourselves prepared for not only this year, your first year, but the next 4 years that you're going to be on that campus? Because what we want to do is provide you with some strategies and some tips that will enable you for when 4 years from now, you'll be able to walk off your campus with a degree in one hand and a job offer in the other one. Or maybe a grad school acceptance, whichever it is that you plan on doing. But we want to make sure that you get there first. Now, if you've been told or even you haven't been told, I want to begin with letting you know that there are certain things that employers and grad schools look for in the proper candidate in order for them to come into and for them to hire them. Well, let me give you some tips, some advice, and some things that you'll need to know. Well, there are certain things that they look for, that all employers and all grad schools look for in the ideal candidate. First, they look for your communication skills. They want to know that you're going to be able to write well and communicate properly using proper English. Sorry, texting is not going to work in this day and age. It may work fine in communicating with your friends, but when we're talking about business English and business communications, you have to be able to write in longhand. You have to be able to type out things very well and using words, actual words, and not using numbers for words. We know what we're talking about. So what you want to do is improve your communication skills, your writing, your verbal skills, so that those people who are looking to hire you or to accept you into their grad school programs will want to do so willingly. Because remember, it's a brand and your brand. So they want to make sure that your brand is going to match their brand. If they don't match, you're not going to get hired. So you want to make sure your communication skills are up to par. Secondly, it's your organizational skills. How organized are you really? Are you the type of person who is able to keep track of all their dates and all of their appointments and all their assignments without any problem? Or are you one of those last minute type of people that say, oh my God, I forgot I had this to do, so let me get to it now? Well, you want to make sure that you are very well organized and you keep things in their proper place. And as I say, there's an app for that. So you want to keep yourself organized. You want to utilize the social media. You want to utilize the devices you have at your disposal to keep yourselves organized and to make sure that you don't miss an assignment, you don't miss an appointment, and that you're able to keep all of your activities up to par so that you don't miss out on anything and that you don't lag behind in anything either. Procrastination, it will be your enemy. You want to make sure that you're able to do things little by little, step by step, and just get it done. It doesn't matter how much you get done in one particular day, it's just that you want to get something done. You don't want to push things off for the end too much. We may be used to doing that in high school, and we may have gotten away with it on some occasions as well, but we want to make sure we don't fall into that rut in college. So you want to organize yourself and try to eliminate or minimize the amount of procrastination that you actually do. Next, colleges and or grad schools and employers look for your leadership skills. They want to know, how good a leader are you? Are you the type of person who's just going to join a whole bunch of clubs while you're on campus, be the big man or big woman on campus? Or are you, better yet, are you going to focus yourself on one or two organizations and really move up through the ranks of those organizations? You know, colleges and employers, they don't want to just hear that you've been a part of this organization. You've been a member of the photography club. You've been a member of this intramural team. You've been a member of, they get that all the time. They don't want to know that you're just being a member. They want to know, have you taken on any leadership responsibilities? Were you vice president? Did you help to organize a bunch of people to go out and do something they wouldn't ordinarily do? Were you able to increase revenues for the club that you were part of? Those are the types of things that they want to know about. Not just you were a member. Member is a noun. They want to know what kind of verbs have you been employing when you were part of those clubs. So they want to know, are you growing revenue? Are you growing membership? Are you leading people into doing things that they wouldn't ordinarily do without your leadership? So that's what they want to look for, what they want to see in a proper candidate. So check out your leadership skills. Use college as that vehicle to improve and enhance your leadership skills. Next, they're going to look at logic. Your GPA. It does matter. So the higher your GPA, probably the better look that you're going to get. Just think of it this way. If there are two candidates who are primed to be accepted or to be hired, who do you think they're going to look at first and offer the interview first? The person with the higher GPA, right? Yeah, that's how it's going to work. As a matter of fact, most employers now use an applicant tracking system. So what they're going to do is they're going to ask you to input all of your personal information, whatever college courses that you took, your GPA, your birthday, your address, all of that personal stuff, put it into the applicant tracking system. And then that's where the fun begins. Because now the recruiter is going to sit back on their desk in front of their computer, pull open their applicant tracking system, and then just put in whatever criteria they're looking for. So if they're looking for students who have GPAs of 3.5 or better, that's exactly what they're going to put in, 3.5. And all those resumes and applications that have 3.5 or higher will be the only applications that the recruiters see. So if your GPA is 3.2, which is respectable, but it's not going to be noticed no matter what you do elsewhere. So you want to make sure your GPA is as high as it can possibly be. Next, they're going to take a look at your effort. And what I mean by effort is how much work you actually put into things. Are you the type who's just going to kind of lounge around and wait until the last minute to do stuff? Or are you going to do your best, give it your all every single chance you get? Because again, employers in grad schools, they're not looking for people they have to kind of stay on top of all the time. They want people who are going to go out and do the work without having to be followed all the time, without having to look over their shoulder. So do you want to know what type of effort, how hard a worker are you going to be for them? And you can practice that in college as well. Utilize these skills and this time that you're going to be in school to do those types of things. Next are your group skills. How well do you play with others, right? In high school, you may have been used to doing a lot of things on your own. When it came to that class project, you kind of rued the day that the teacher said we're going to be working in groups to do this project. You say, well, can I work by myself? I just work better by myself. Well, get over it, because you're going to have to do work in pairs or in groups. That's how most of college experience is, and that's what most employers look for. Because when you're working, you're going to be put on a team, and it's that team that works together to produce whatever it is you're going to be producing. So you want to work on your group skills, how well you play with others in the sandbox, so to speak. Okay. And then finally is entrepreneurship. Well, now, of course, we're not expecting you to start your own companies, but if you do, that'd be great. But you want to have those abilities. You want to have those same skills that entrepreneurs show. And that's that self-starting ability. Being able to do things without having people looking over your shoulder to make sure you're getting it done correctly. You want to be the type of person who's going to ask questions and not just accept responsibilities without asking any questions. You want to clarify whatever work it is that you're going to be doing. And so, again, college is the place that you're going to be able to get the opportunity to work on all of these skills. So you want to utilize this experience as just that, an experience. Try out a lot of different things. Join the clubs that are going to go along with your particular major. and then move up through those clubs so that you're actually doing different things. Don't just sit around and be a member. You want to actually be an officer, be a committee leader, or something like that, so that you show your leadership abilities. Next, when you get to college, you want to make sure that, treat school as your job, because it really is. And that's what you're preparing for. Now, think of it. How many hours are you going to have in the typical week, right? If you think about how many hours you're going to be working at your regular job, usually about 40 hours. So let's break that down somewhat. 40 hours a week, that gives you about 8 hours per day. So if you're talking about in your typical college course load, you're going to be in class, you're taking 3 classes a day, probably. So that's about 4.5 hours, really 4 to 4.5, anywhere from 3 to 4.5 hours a day that you're going to be in class. So think about what you can do during that time from, say, 8 a.m. until 4 p.m. What can you get done during that time frame? So you can get to all of your classes. The typical typical course load is, again, 5 classes per semester. That's it, 5 courses. And that means you're not going to take all 5 every day, all day, right? You're going to probably take Monday, Wednesday, Friday classes. So that'd be 2 or 3 classes. You may take a Tuesday, Thursday class. So that might be your other 2 classes. So that's how it's going to be broken up, which means you're going to be in class, actual class time, only about 3 hours a day, every day. Now, again, looking at an 8-hour school day or work day, you still have 5 hours left. 3 hours for class. You should spend some other time in the library. So the other 5 hours you have of that day, you go to the library, fine, take your hour for lunch, that's allowable. But spend the rest of the time studying and getting things done that you need to do for class. That way, by 4 or 5 o'clock in the afternoon, you're done. You're golden. You have the rest of the evening to do whatever it is you want to do. So when your roommates and your other classmates and colleagues are kind of struggling to get things done and to work on this paper and trying to scurry off to the library to work on that, you can just lounge back in your dorm room and just kind of chill and watch Game of Thrones when they can't. Because you are the one, you got everything done during that 8-hour time frame that you have every day. You're good to go. So treat school as if it's your job. Plan out that 8 hours you have from 8 to 4 or 9 to 5, however your particular school day is going to run. So work on your schedule to kind of go along with that, and you'll be better for it. You also want to make sure you hit the ground running. And what I mean by that is some people come into their freshman year and say, I worked very hard during my high school career. I'm going to kind of ease my way into college. I wanted to experience all that there is to experience, and I'm going to have fun. I'm going to do this, that, go to these parties and everything. Whoa. That's not what you're there for. You don't want to ease your way into college. You want to hit the ground running. You want to be able to get your GPA up as high as you possibly can that freshman year. You know why? Because as you go throughout your career, you're going to want to join different clubs. Heck, you may want to join an organization, a Greek organization. And when that time happens, when you start to load on more things, whether it's joining an organization, whether it's being part of a sports team, whether it's getting a part-time job, those are things that are going to take up part of your day. And it's going to take time away from you studying, or it's going to add to the stress level that you're having. And when that happens, your GPA may slip a little bit. But in your freshman year, if you get your GPA up as high as you possibly can, it can withstand a little hit in your junior year or late sophomore year. But if you spend your freshman year and decide, I'm just going to coast through, I'm going to be happy with my 2.5 and I'm golden, well, it's not going to be able to take that hit that you're going to get a year from now. So work as much as you possibly can now, get your GPA up as high as you can now as a freshman, and then it'll be able to withstand anything that comes your way. Because you see, it's real easy for your GPA to drop, and it's really, really hard for it to go back up. So you want to start as high as you can, and if it does take a little hit, Okay, you can work on that. Then the next semester you go right back at it. Okay, so hit the ground running. Don't try to ease your way into your freshman year. Also, you want to take classes when you're at your best. Now, if you have already selected your classes for the freshman year for this first semester, well, not much you can do at this point. But going forward, you want to make sure you select your classes when you are at your best. If you are a morning person and you're an early riser and you get everything done, you're at your most energetic in the morning, then take your morning classes, take your classes then. There's no problem taking an 8 o'clock class or a 9 o'clock class. I was an early riser, so I had all my classes scheduled from 8 to 11. 8 to 11. By 11 o'clock, I was done for the day. This was Monday through Friday. I was done. Then I went to the library, had lunch with some of my friends, and of course, after lunch, when they were rushing to class, I was rushing back to my dorm room to hang out for a little bit, to wait for them to get out of class. So, but if you're not an early riser, if you're a night owl, then schedule your classes in the evening or in the late afternoon. You can probably do that. You can find a section of this class you want to take for basically whatever time period you need. So schedule your classes for when you are at your best. And you have to figure out when that actually is. Okay? And manage your day. Remember, I talked about using that 8-hour day to really navigate how you're going to go through the day. Manage your day or else it's going to manage you. So you want to schedule your appointments. You want to make sure that you know how you're spending every waking moment, or else things are going to pop up and you're going to just go as things happen. You're going to be in reactionary mode as opposed to being proactive. So you always want to be proactive, schedule your day, and make sure that you're able to withstand or live up to all the demands that your day is going to have. Lastly, I want to talk about setting your goals. That kind of goes part and parcel with managing your day. So you want to establish some SMART goals. Now, you probably have heard that term before, and because everybody talks about it. But if you haven't, SMART stands for specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound. That's what the SMART stand for. You want to make sure your goals fall into those categories. You don't want to just say, well, yeah, I think I want to do very well this year. Okay, well, what does that mean? You want to be more specific in your goal. So a specific grade type of goal may be, I want to make the dean's list with a 3.3 GPA this semester. Okay, that's probably, let's then analyze that to see how smart that is. Is it specific? Yeah, pretty much. You're talking about an exact GPA number, so it's specific. Is it achievable? I think a 3.3 is achievable. It's doable. Especially, you have to know, is that something that you're going to be able to actually achieve? Have you achieved that type of level or that type of GPA in the past? Well, that's going to determine whether you can achieve it now. Is it measurable? Well, of course it's measurable, because you can easily see if you made a 3.3 or not, right? You can see that. And then, is it relevant? Well, yeah, it is relevant, and it's also realistic. But again, only you can answer that. Have you achieved that type of GPA in the past? Or is it something that's going to stretch you to try something new? And that's fine as well. And then, is it time bound? Well, yes, because you said this semester. So this first marking period. So whatever that time frame is, even if you want to narrow it down even further by saying by December 12th, the end of the semester, I want to make sure that I make that 3.3 GPA. So you can do it that way, putting in an exact date to make it time bound. So that's how you create a SMART goal for yourself. Make it very specific, make sure that it's measurable, make sure that it's something that you can achieve and it's realistic. Because if you've gotten 70s your entire career in high school, what makes you think you're going to get a 3.3 GPA in college? Well, again, but that might be something to push yourself towards. And who knows, you may actually get it, or you may even do better. But you need to know exactly how it is that you're going to be able to accomplish that. And we're going to talk about that in a moment. Well, you want to know how you're going to get this 3.3 or higher GPA, right? Well, let me let you in on a little secret. Well, actually, there is no secret to it. It's just going to take a lot of hard work. But as part of that work, you're going to need some support. And getting that support, you want to, who's better to go to for support when we're talking about grades than your professors? Yes, go to your professors. Your professors are pretty knowledgeable about particular subjects. So you may want to bend their ear a little bit and find out exactly how you can be supported in their class. So visit their office hours. That's what they're there for. Go to their office hours if you have a question about anything and ask them. Again, your professors are pretty smart. And for the most part in your classes, guess what? You're probably using the books that they wrote. So utilize them as much as you possibly can. When you're in their class, sit in the front of the room. I know most of us like to sit in the back of the room where we can kind of lounge around and kind of be almost invisible in the class. Well, you know what? When you're doing that, you're not only invisible to the teacher. Well, you're not really invisible to the teacher because the professor can still see you. But you're making yourself invisible to yourself. So you're becoming invisible to the learning. And you're not getting as much out of it as you possibly can. So when you sit in the front of the room, you're being more attentive. And you have to be because you're in front of the room. So you don't want to fall asleep and have the professor looking right at you sitting in front of them sleeping. So you're going to be awake. You're going to be more attentive. And you're able to take better notes when you're more attentive. And that's what you want to do. So sit in the front of the room, usually within the first 2 rows. And also maybe sit in what they call the T. The T are those first 2 rows in the classroom and the rows right down the middle of the classroom. So that's your T. Because that's where the professor or most professors direct their attention. The people who sit right in front of them and the people who sit right down the middle of the classroom. And that's who they're going to pay attention to the most. It just happens to be that way. The studies have proven it. And it also has proven that the students who sit in that T earn the best grades. So that's where you want to actually be. When we start talking about notes, you want to take thorough notes, but you want to take what are called notes. So when you're done taking all of your notes in class, you want to then review those notes. And you're going to have time to do it because remember, you'll be in class for 3 hours a day. So right after class, run to the library or run to someplace else that you know is going to be quiet. Review the notes for that class and then kind of summarize those notes. And that's what you can do. Let me tell you a quick story about that. I had a roommate who utilized this system, this notes system. Of course, we didn't know that at the time because what we wanted to know was, well, what is your strategy? Because you see, at the beginning of the semester or throughout the semester, we had people, this guy was kind of hanging out and going to different parties and doing all these different things. And we wanted to know, well, if you're doing all this hanging out at night, if you're at every single party every weekend and every other social event, how are you keeping your grades up? Well, he let us in on his strategy. One, he said, you know what? During the day, I hide from all you guys. Yeah, I hide from you. See, I go to class and then I go to the library and I get all my work done during the day, that 8-hour period, right? And while I'm doing that, I'm taking my notes. I actually then review them and then I try to quiz myself. I say, well, you know what? What questions should the professor ask based on these notes? So I write down the note. I write down a question next to them. Or I summarize my notes. I kind of bring it down. I narrow it down a little bit. So it's less for me to study. So I take a whole 3 pages or 4 pages of notes that I took that day and I condense it into the most important stuff that I feel is going to be covered. It basically takes 3 or 4 pages and condenses it down to 1. And then I jot down little questions that I think the professor is going to ask on the next quiz. And sure enough, that's what he does. He asks those same questions or same types of questions, and then I already know the answers. So I do well on the exams or any other project that's given out. And since I have all my work done by 5 o'clock, I can get to hang out the rest of the day or on the weekends. I don't have all of this pressure of academics hanging over me because I've already done everything during the week, right? So that's something else that you can do as well. Utilize those notes, review your notes during the day, write little questions that you think might be asked based on those notes, on the important things. And just make sure you review on a constant basis, right? And again, as we're talking about study places, find multiple places to study, not just the library, or maybe not even the library. Some people can't study in the library. But if you do use the library, try to reserve a room so that you can be shut off from all the commotion that's going on outside. But find, like I said, find multiple places, because sometimes when you go to reserve that room in the library, they're all gone, especially around finals time. So you want to make sure that you find there's some other place you can go. It might be your room. It might be the lounge at the top of whatever building you're in. It might be some other building on campus. You know, the campus buildings, the classroom buildings are open pretty much 24 hours, but they're not used 24 hours. So you may want to study in the lounge of one of the buildings, the academic buildings, or a classroom in one of the academic buildings after the regular classes are done. So that you find all these other places, so that when your usual places to go are taken, you have someplace else to go. Utilize study groups. You want to utilize people who are going to be like-minded and are going to help each other through things. Because you're going to learn that people in your class are going to rely on each other. And that's where you really want to go. So form your study groups, ask questions of each other, kind of bounce ideas off of each other, and help each other through some of the more difficult and tough times. Because that's what's going to help you earn a higher grade as well. So I want you to take all these ideas, everything that you've heard, and figure out how you're going to put your schedules together, so that when you're going throughout your entire year, and if you've run into any difficulties, you know who to go to. And part of that is going to your professor, going to the academic advice center, because they can help you as well. If you find that you're slipping in a particular subject, go get a tutor. There's no harm in that, and there's no shame in that. Again, you're in college to get a degree. That's what you're there for. Everything else is secondary. So if you're slipping, make sure that you get a tutor or go get the academic advisement. That's fine. And just so you can get your GPA up. Form study groups. Ask questions of the people in your group. Help each other out. Who knows? They may actually know somebody who's had that professor before and may give you all of their notes. Or better yet, give you all the tests that the professor gives. Professors generally give the same test every semester. So if you can get somebody who you know who has taken that professor before, get their notes, get their quizzes, get their tests, so that you can study from those, and that you'll know you have a leg up when it comes time for the exams that the professor is going to give. So that's it. That's all that I have for you right now. There's a whole lot more that I wish I could share with you, but I'm sure this is a good starting off point for you. I'm excited for you. I wish that I was in your shoes. I remember my first year of college and how overwhelmed I felt, but excited at the same time, and I'm sure that's how you feel as well. But I wish you all the best, and I want you to do your best while you are here in college. You have 4 years to really just the beginning of the rest of your life. So once again, congratulations on getting this far, and I wish you all the best in your college experience.
Thank you for tuning into this latest installment of Academically Speaking, the College Planning 101 web series brought to you by the Brooklyn, Long Island Alumni Chapter of Kappa Alpha Psi Fraternity Incorporated. We hope that you enjoyed this presentation and gained some valuable strategies to assist you through your college journey. We wish you the best and look forward to you viewing our next offering. Please visit our website, www.kapsibli.org, or follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter for all of the latest information concerning Brooklyn, Long Island alumni.